Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of my video about Acacia Kersey's unsuccessful business ventures. If you haven't seen part 1, I recommend watching it first to understand who this woman is and where her habits of overpromising and underdelivering started. All my sources are linked below, and this video wouldn't be possible without them. I recommend checking them out for yourself if you want a more in-depth look into the lies. There are so many small details that it would be impossible to cover it all in one video, which is also why I'm going to be making part 3 to this little series. But without making the intro too long, let's talk about Acacia Kersey's schemes to make money from when she quit Twitch in 2019 until now. I want to start with Acacia using her kids to make money. I wouldn't consider this one a scheme, but just like most mommy and family influencers, Acacia used her kids to make money. From using them in ads for companies, promotions of her own products like merch, the Kersey book, and presets, and using them to promote undisclosed affiliated links, Acacia used her children for profit to the fullest extent until she was forced to pretend she's taking them offline to avoid losing her platform, which was built on deception anyway, because her so-called fame was bought. The account formerly known as Acacia's Content on Twitter took matters into her own hands and ran an audit on Acacia's Instagram account. Her thread on this is linked below if you want to look deeper into the details of the analytics to understand the scope of how fabricated Acacia's social media fame is. But to give you a quick summary, the engagement Acacia gets for the amount of followers she has is minuscule, less than 0.5%. Only 50% of Acacia's followers are estimated to be real. On Social Blade, we can see when and how many followers Acacia purchased and when she did. Gaining 20 to 30,000 followers in a single day randomly is impossible, especially for someone who only gets 0.45% engagement rate as it is. A lot of the accounts that were liking her photos were bots and had no profile image or followers. It's possible that some accounts who follow Acacia are just lurkers, but some of the comments she got were definitely bots, with inappropriate comments like "very hot" on pictures of her children, and the added comments promoting products. Anyway, Acacia focused on becoming a mommy influencer and even admitted that posting about her pregnancy is what gets the most attention in a Facebook Live, meaning she was aware of the potential that having children on social media holds.
If I posted what may have likes, then I would just post pictures of my face and my belly every day.
Today's
I just opened a Facebook Live. You're lucky no one's opened yet. You started a Facebook Live without asking me. I promised the agent people I would do something.
With them now, I'm not like worried about like aesthetics. I know that sounds so obvious, but for some reason in my head it was so stuck there, and I hate that it was stuck there. I absolutely hate it because I didn't really take that many pictures unless it was for Instagram, and that is just disgusting, honestly.
Speaking of undisclosed affiliated links, these links are different from a code you would get from a company or shop when you're working with them. Affiliated links are created by the individual to promote an item on their social media from which they receive a commission. This is called affiliate marketing. Acacia used these links to make money for years without disclosing that they're an ad and that she makes money from them. Her fans thought she was sharing products with them genuinely because she enjoyed them, not realizing she was only trying to make money off of those who purchased them. Someone had to point out to Acacia that affiliated links have to be disclosed. Secretly making money off of products that her followers were buying is deceptive. After this, she pretended that she forgot to disclose the affiliated links. Following the steps of her ex-friend Becca Martinez, Acacia created a short video for her Instagram stories to announce when there was an incoming ad that included clips of her children. Unfortunately, she used it to promote things like adult toys, not realizing she's directly using her children to make money by promoting a product that's intended for adult use only. It's really weird that Acacia couldn't see how abnormal this is, which also shows how her father's influence affected her perception of when a boundary needs to be made between children and adult content and subjects. I quickly want to mention that despite Acacia knowing that her father behaves inappropriately around children and young adults, she still lets him around her own children, putting them at risk. Fortunately, legal action is being taken against Rich, and he will not get away for much longer. The next money-making scheme is Acacia's Cameo, which is still active today. Acacia charges $70 for a personal use video, and almost $500 for a business use video, meaning it is made for a company, employees, or business. These prices are outrageous for a few minute long video from someone who barely gets any engagement on their main platform or puts any effort into making them. Watch these cameos she has available publicly and let me know in the comments, would you pay $70 for them?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Rhiannon. I hear you're turning 21, which is, you just officially become an adult at 21. Everyone says it's 18, but it's really 21. That's when things start moving and grooving. Your friend Sarah sent me to wish you a happy birthday. I hope that you have an amazing 21st birthday. I know it'll be a little different this year, but I hope that you can still have a bunch of fun. And it is filled with love and happiness and all of the great things in the world, because that's what your 21st birthday should be. Thank you so much for all the love you've given me over the years. Same with Sarah. You guys are the bestest, and I'm sending you so much love, so many good vibes, and oh man, to be 21 again. Happy birthday. Hi Emily, your friend Elise sent me to give you some words of encouragement. I hear that you're a nanny to 2 little boys. That is so cute. I feel like nannies don't get enough recognition nowadays, because I feel like you guys do so much for these kids, and it's truly astonishing, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing and helping shape these 2 little boys into becoming awesome people. I know that some days can be extremely difficult, especially with toddlers. It is hard work. I would say that, oh man, there's so much advice to give, but what's like the best to give, you know? I would say just like keep loving, keep trying, and just appreciate the bond that you have with these special humans who look at you with so much joy and love, and just reciprocate that as much as you can back to them. Also, I know like Busy Toddler on Instagram has some great ideas for crafts and activities, but I hear that you already do all those awesome things, so that's amazing. But thank you so much for your love and following me along on this journey, and I hope that we get to talk again sometime soon. That would be amazing. Sending lots of love your way. I hope you have a beautiful day, and say hi to those cute little babies for me.
Maybe we should all pitch in to buy a cameo from Acacia where she addresses all of the drama, but I don't think even money will be enough of an incentive for her to take accountability at this point. Acacia also started an OnlyFans where she posted for some time, and she charged her subscribers $20 per month for photos very similar to what she already posted on Instagram. Most of them were leaked, and in one of her videos where she shows off her body, her oldest daughter was seen in the bottom corner. She took down the video after she was called out for it, but it shows once again that Acacia has no concept of boundaries between children and sexuality and what's appropriate when it comes to featuring her kids online. Less than a year after Acacia joined OF, she announced she's quitting and said, "Hi cuties, it's Acacia. I have decided to leave OF. A lot of change is coming to my life, and OF isn't a place for me right now. Thank you guys for everything. Much appreciated." Her followers were unhappy because not only did they pay $20 a month, the content they got wasn't what they signed up for. Most people expect creators on OF to post more than lingerie and bikini shots. And as I've said in the previous video, no one is entitled to Acacia's body or to pressuring her to post things she isn't comfortable with. But she should have clarified that her content is softcore and her intentions of keeping it that way. By not doing this, she overpromised as always and disappointed her fans yet again. These comments are pointing out another common pattern for Acacia, waiting until her followers have been charged for the month and announcing she's quitting afterwards. One comment says, "Pretty crazy how we all just got ripped off the last year practically. You posted the bare minimum, not even. Scammed here like you scammed people on Instagram. You won't ever change." I'm not sure how OF handles that, but I hope all the people who were scammed out of their money were able to get some of it back. Next was the infamous preset scandal. This was talked about and discussed at length so many times already, so I will try to do my best to keep the summary as short as I can. Acacia found a way to make easy money on Gumroad by selling presets, which are basically custom photo filters. She used her children to promote them. No surprise there, and the filters themselves were way too overexposed and washed out. Anyone who's ever edited a photo in their life could tell how bad these were. I mean, you can literally recreate them using the basic photo editor your device comes with. Someone was recreating Acacia's presets and selling them for $2, much lower than the price the original presets were sold for. Acacia was outraged and tweeted about how unethical this was, saying that this is gross, that she's heartbroken, and thought the girl was just helping people edit photos, not reselling her filters, which is obviously illegal. Her preset packs even had a disclaimer saying that unauthorized distribution of her packs was prohibited, but it seems Acacia only cares about redistribution when it comes to herself, and went on to do the same thing but worse. When she wasn't making enough money from her own packs, she started working on a new one, even involved her fans by asking them to help her name the pack and asking how many she should sell and for what price. While this was happening, Ash Levy noticed that a lot of the presets Acacia was posting on her Instagram were identical to hers and was excited for the shoutout. Well, we all know this is not what happened. I recommend watching Ash Levy's video to understand what happened in the situation, and Cole T. Queen's video where she's breaking down the manipulative conversation Acacia had with Ash after being called out for stealing, repackaging, and redistributing Ash's presets as her own. Over half of the presets in the pack Acacia was selling were directly stolen from Ashley's pack. The summary by Groovy JJ on Twitter explains everything as well, and it will be linked below like all of my sources. It's estimated that Acacia made close to $15,000 off of the sale of these presets and only gave partial refunds to people who were asking for them, depending on what time zone they were in after she took out the stolen presets from the pack she was selling.
I've been sent screenshots of people messaging her asking for a refund because they'd rather support me instead, and she comes back with like, what time zone do you live in, to see if they bought the preset pack before she removed the original 7 presets.
A lot of her diehard fans were saying this isn't a big deal because these are just photo filters, but Acacia stole copyrighted products from a creator, pretended she put a lot of hard work into them, profited off of them, and refused to give full refund, using her financial situation that she got herself into as an excuse. Acacia was lucky that Ash chose to try and resolve this issue privately instead of taking legal action because the consequences for her could be much worse. Since Ash's company was stolen from, I linked her shop below for those interested in high-quality presets that had actual effort put into them. After Acacia allegedly quit her role as an influencer, she deleted many of the photos that were using and promoting her stolen presets, or changed the caption on them to hide what she did, but the internet is forever and try as she might, the evidence is still out there. Not long after the preset scandal, Acacia's video giving an update about her newborn was found on an adult website, and she refused to do anything about it besides act like she was the victim in the situation and not her innocent daughter that she put out for millions of people to see. It's disgusting that these types of things happen in the first place, and I wish there was better protections in place for children on social media to prevent this, but unfortunately, pedophilia is something that existed and still does in human society as a whole. Making it illegal and putting protections in place, no matter how harsh, will still not be enough to stop these disgusting people from existing. At this point, it's the parents' job to be aware of this and protect children to the best of their ability, especially when they are a public figure and their children are exposed to a wider audience of people, something that they cannot comprehend or consent to. Ironically, Acacia is teaching her kids about consent by asking them to care for their basic hygiene needs, while sharing everything about their lives, including medical information and their naked bodies on the internet for the world to see.
Consent matters. Britney is at that age where she makes her own decisions for most of her life, including whether or not I can brush her hair. And what did you tell mommy today? You said, But she said only if she gets a lollipop first. So I said, deal.
When Acacia refused to do anything about this and continued to play victim, she was called out by a YouTube creator threatening to expose her for this. Instead, she chose then to take her kids off her social media. Without the constant exploitation of her children, she had nothing left to offer and decided to run from responsibility again by quitting her role as an influencer. But she never left.
Passing the phone to someone who's a straight up liar.
She moved on to another platform, Patreon, where she could now make money off of her kids and family by charging people to see them. She charged $8 a month and promised perks like recipes, DIYs, live chats and live streams, and more. Of course, this too was another repetition of the pattern of overpromising because not only did she rarely post on there, the posts she made were mostly photos, screenshots of Amazon items, and some text posts. Patreon was created to be used by influencers and creators to give extra content to their followers in addition to what they're posting on their main platforms. And because this was another obvious cash grab, opinion Twitter accounts were created to show what she was posting on there for the purposes of critique, commentary, and a warning to those considering joining her community because it was obvious that it is not worth it. I'll link them below if you'd like to see what she was posting on there yourself. Acacia promised to post a video showing off her kids' advent calendar around Christmas, but then pretended that Patreon's video uploading feature is too hard to work with, despite thousands of other creators using it with no issue. I have to give a little side note here that I find it genuinely shocking that after being an internet user and creator for over a decade, Acacia still couldn't figure out how to do something so simple like uploading a video. Before I started this channel, I had very limited knowledge on all aspects of what goes into creating and editing videos or what goes into having a YouTube channel at all. I always struggled with understanding how to work certain technology and still do, but already I feel like I improved so much from when I started and it hasn't even been a year. I can't imagine being a digital creator for most of my teen and all my adult life and still not know how to upload a video onto a different platform. Instead of posting the full-length video on Patreon, Acacia created a private TikTok account for her patrons where she was going to post it instead. After the private account was created, her patrons were asking her to approve them for days, even sending her their usernames to get into the private community. Acacia even made posts asking her patrons to request to follow her. Of course, they weren't the only ones wanting in, and after over 1,000 people requested to follow her, she made the account public, then private again, which approves all follow requests she had. Acacia clearly doesn't care about her paying members, once again overpromising and under-delivering, and chose to approve anyone who requested to join. It was obvious that her patron was compromised, and that people from Opinion Twitter were paying to see her content and commentate on it, but Acacia chose to ignore it and turn a blind eye even when it was pointed out to her. Accepting paying members was part of her job, something she was paid for, and she couldn't even be bothered to take an hour or even a few minutes every day for a few days to do it. This once again shows Acacia has no concept of what having a job or working is, or have any respect for the people who pay their hard-earned money to get special perks from her. I get secondhand embarrassment from everything Acacia does. Her whole career online feels like one big social experiment. In January of 2022, Acacia announced she will be quitting Patreon at the end of the month of February in a long post where she says she will be putting a pause on her Patreon, where she was barely posting anyway. Another cycle was coming to an end. Acacia finally admitted that she's been using her Patreon money to make refunds for people who bought her stolen presets, and it seems like she's finally realizing what a privileged, selfish person she is, and that she was the cause for her own downfall, something that was obvious to everyone else except her for years. Instead of reflecting and realizing what she's done, and owning up to it when she had the chance to show her growth and maturity publicly, she chose to ignore and block all criticism and calls for accountability, pretend that she did nothing wrong, and left her role as an influencer, pretending that harm was done to her, instead of admitting all the harm she's done to others. Acacia said that she wanted to party it up before closing her Patreon account, and asked what her patrons wanted to see from her in the meantime. Once again disappointing her paying fans, Acacia wanting to party it up included posting only 7 times within those last 2 months, including posts promoting the launch of her new quilted mouse ear shop and asking for help deciding between quilts for them. In her last post on Patreon, Acacia thanks all her most devoted fans who blindly followed her through every scandal, supported her, and cheered her on. Basically everyone in the echo chamber she created for herself. A total of a little over 200 people out of the alleged 2 million she had. At least it seems like Acacia is becoming self-aware and at the very end of her very last post admits that her ignorance, oblivion, and self-hatred growing up was hurting a lot of people, and says she didn't intend to do that. If this doesn't reinforce how important it is to keep children off of the internet until they're ready to use it, and not make them public figures from a young age, I don't know what does. But imagine how nice it would be to see Acacia actually admit this publicly, on the same platforms that she used to hurt people on, and make a real apology to all of them, and not just her most devoted fans who pay to see her content and will continue to blindly support her, she would have to unblock thousands of people to do this and would still be undeserving of being an influencer, but it would be a huge step to reconcile with all the fans she's hurt and pushed away over the years, and bring awareness to how being famous on social media at a young age can damage a person and affect their followers as well. But that's extremely unlikely to happen, clearly. When February ended and March began, Acacia confirmed that the billing cycle for her existing patrons ended, and one person who subscribed to her was refunded, this too being an improvement in the scam cycle. She's finally figured out that it's easier to not charge people for a service they will not be getting than borrowing their money until the next venture comes along to help refund them. Which brings us to where Acacia is today. It's interesting to see how after all the harm Acacia caused to so many people over the years publicly, she's still not willing to properly acknowledge and apologize for it, but at least it seems like she's finally starting to open her eyes to the fact that she did not deserve the platform she had, and that she was the cause of her own downfall and not people online asking for her to mature and take accountability who she deemed to be her haters because they didn't kiss up to her. Thank you for being so patient while I make these videos and all of your support. I really appreciate it because a lot of work goes into them. Acacia is someone who I used to be a fan of back in her grunge days until she started having kids and it was becoming obvious that her platform was dependent on them, and the only way she could make money was by scamming her followers. Finding out about her racist past was the last straw for me, and her lack of action and acknowledgement of it until June of 2020 really showed what kind of person she is. I always talked about her shenanigans with my family and friends, and I think exposing her publicly is important too, because she got away with too much for too long. Alright, I'm going to go work on the next part of this small series. See you there.